now as people have gotten a lot fatter, they've probably increased the size of a lot of clothes and the different dimensions of them, which has caused, like, basically, so, like, the spectrum of sizes has gotten larger. I have no idea what I'm talking about, I'm just guessing, right? But, like, I don't know, that's what would make sense.
I'm shopping at Abercrombie for the first time since I was in high school. Mildly triggering because this was like the coolest store back in the day, but I could never afford it because my family is middle class. Now that I'm here, I'm noticing two.
Abercrombie is a store for middle class people who think they're upper class. Nobody in the upper class buys Abercrombie. Let's be real, right? It's another one of those brands that's made to appeal to people that are average or a little bit above average.
Main things. One is that everything is kind of affordable, which was definitely not the case in high school. The other thing that I'm noticing is that everything is just a little bit shittier than you would want it to be. I'm seeing a lot of like loose threads on things and a lot of stuff that's just made out of 100% synthetic fabrics. The clothing just doesn't feel like this nice, firm, high quality that I associated with Abercrombie.
Abercrombie still does sell some high-quality clothing.
I think maybe one of the reasons for this probably is because I feel like nowadays it's much more common to just get rid of clothes that you've had for a while. So they might be making them with lower quality, knowing that people probably won't wear them long enough to wear out that quality. I think that could be a big factor. I'm not sure, I'm just guessing, but that's what I think.
I really like this dress and would totally buy it.
And I'm glad they've decided to start using normal lighting in their stores. But seeing so much cheap and low-quality stuff there made me wonder, did clothing used to be better when I was a teenager?
Yeah, probably.
Not just at Abercrombie, but across the board.
It's called fast fashion? I didn't know that.
So I scoured eBay, Depop, and Poshmark for clothes from trusted brands of the 90s and 2000s. Then I went to those same stores and bought the 2024 version of each item.
Okay.
Abercrombie was like legendary for really high-quality denim.
To compare the old and new, I got help from Amanda McCarty.
I worked as a buyer in the fashion industry for about 20 years. In the span of my career, I saw how what we sell people changed. The two major changes, I would say, are one, nothing fits properly anymore. It's not you, it's nothing about your body, you're great. And two, the longevity.
That's actually very true. Like every time that I buy a shirt at like Walmart, this shirt is made for someone with the body type like Kirby.
Of these clothes, even how you feel when you put them on, has degraded so much. It's just not a good deal.
It's not just in my head, it has gotten harder to find quality clothes that last, even at brands you used to like. If you're wondering why, keep watching.
I mean, to be fair, I went to Target, this was like maybe 2 weeks ago, and I looked at the clothes there, and there wasn't a single anything there that I wanted. Not a single fucking thing. It's awful.
I want you to think about how many new pieces of clothing you bought last year. If you're anything like the average American, it was around 68. And
I've got to say this. It's very odd to me that I think people spend a lot of money on shit they don't need to. And I think a lot of the people that are complaining that they're broke, you don't need to buy 68 pairs of clothing a year. That's insane. Who does this?
1980?
Maybe if you count, yeah, I guess maybe
but
like
wait,
each sock.
It gets crazier. In the 80s, Americans spent about 7% of their annual income on clothes. Today, it's just 3%. We spend half as much, even though we're buying 5 times more. This Abercrombie ad from the 80s helps explain why. The high-quality wool was a huge selling point. They even tell you exactly where it's from. And notice how they say this is part of their fall collection? Because in the 80s and 90s, stores only had new clothes a couple times a year. Usually a spring-summer collection and a fall-winter collection.
Yeah, like you go to like TG, what was it, like a fucking... God, bro, I'm trying to remember the names. Something like Max, right? Fucking, like, TJ Maxx? Yeah, TJ Maxx, there you go, yeah. Yeah, Ross. Fuck.
Designers would start working on each collection up to 9 months in advance.
Fridays. I knew
because
it wasn't
clothing production takes a lot of work. They had to think of hundreds of unique designs and whittle them down to the dozen or so best ones, send the designs to the factory, go back and forth with them for months to create a prototype, choose the best fabric, the right embellishments, and figure out the proportions for different sizes. After all that, they'd place a massive order with the factory.
See, like, that's, I think, another big issue is that, like, I mean, this is probably going to be me just talking, but I don't know. Like, my sources, I made it the fuck up. Is that I think now as people have gotten a lot fatter, that they've probably increased the size of a lot of clothes and the different dimensions of them, which has caused, like, basically, so, like, the spectrum of sizes has gotten larger, and I think that, and, like, proportions has gotten larger, and I think that in the process of that, they've made clothes kind of more uniform, and that might also be a reason why they're not fitting as well. I have no idea what I'm talking about. I'm just guessing, right? But, like, I don't know. That's what would make sense.
And then just pray the design would sell.
Yeah, once again, it's fat people's fault, naturally. Yeah.
It was kind of like a game of chance. You'd place 2 huge bets per year, and if your styles flopped, you'd be stuck with a whole bunch of clothes you'd have to sell at a discount or just throw away.
Jesus.
That risk is why so much care and thoughtfulness went into making each piece of clothing, and why you could expect quality at every price point, even discount stores like Sears or JCPenney. Just look at the way
Sears and JCPenney were discount stores? Really? Damn. I thought those were like the expensive stores growing up. That's crazy.
Penny advertised their suits in this ad from the 80s.
2-piece suits that are expertly tailored, classically designed, and have an elegant touch.
They're not selling you on the price or the trendiness, but on the craftsmanship and design. Even one of the cheaper suits on the market was still pretty high quality, which is probably why, if you adjust for inflation, this $160 suit would cost $600 today. If you go to JCPenney now, you can easily get a 2-piece suit for under $200.
Yeah.
So in the 80s and 90s, people were buying fewer clothes, but they'd be well-made pieces that would be worn for years.
Yeah.
And keeping up with all the trends, well, that was something only wealthy people could do.
Pull the latest Briones and charge them to our account.
Yes, ma'am.
What are Briones? 6 months of my car payments plus a car.
Then came a little store called Zara, and everything began to change.
See, like, this is so weird for me to read about fashion, because it's like this is like me learning about what the surface of, like, Mars is, you know? Like, I really just don't know anything about this. It's like another world to me. This is crazy.
New York Times coined the term fast fashion in this 1989 article about the first U.S. store of Zara. The latest trend is what we're after, a Zara executive told the Times. It takes 15 days between a new idea and getting it into the stores. Remember, that took most stores 9 months. How did Zara do it in 15 days?
Sweatshops?
By streamlining this part of the production process with something called greige goods. Rather than manufacturing overseas, Zara built their own high-tech factories in Spain, all connected to headquarters by an underground monorail. There, robots working around the clock cut and dye fabrics to create unfinished, uncolored pieces that can be turned into any garment. Once a design is created, Zara can send those greige goods to their network of small shops in nearby regions, where they're transformed into finished dresses, trousers, and tops. Instead of huge orders,
it's just insane.
Zara makes a small batch of each style to start with. The retail stores can then send feedback to headquarters about what's selling and what's not, and they can quickly ramp up production on whatever's popular, restocking within days if needed.
That's crazy.
It massively reduced the risk came with clothing production. Instead of losing money on clearance sales or throwing away unsold goods, Zara's styles often sell out quickly. The designers don't have to predict trends a year in advance. They can just respond to fashion trends as they emerge, though sometimes that gets a little sketchy. For example, here's a look from the high fashion designer Celine, from a collection that debuted on the Vogue runway in 2013. This skirt would have retailed for at least $1,000. And
why? Like, I don't know. It seems like it's too much money. That's crazy. Like, what the fuck? $1,000 for this?
Here's a very similar looking skirt selling on Zara's website for just $80.
Yes, yeah, there it is.
According to the Wayback Machine, Zara had this skirt for sale by August, which would have been just a few weeks after Celine's version landed in boutiques.
It's like they're stumble guys. That's crazy. That's actually crazy. Wow. Oh my God. Yep, just undercut them. Yeah, I guess so.
These runway knockoffs and how quickly Zara could get them into stores were wildly popular.
Holy shit.
By August 2008, Zara's parent company Inditex became the world's largest fashion retailer.
Jesus.
This is also when you had the rise of two other fast fashion giants of the new millennium, Forever 21 and H&M, which pioneered a new way to bring the runway to the masses. They'd partner with luxury designers to make exclusive lines for H&M at affordable prices, starting with Karl Lagerfeld in 2004.
God, is it true? Of course it's true.
This part of the story, it seems sort of like a...
That's like... All right, so... Is this like me just being a caveman, or is this just for girls? Because like as a guy, like am I a cave? Because like I've never, I don't even know anything about this. Like all of this is new to me. I've never heard anything about, like, I don't know anything about this shit at all. This is insane. We're cavemen together? Yes, like Well, you're assuming all guys are like you? Well, yeah, I kind of am, because like a lot of my friends, I don't know any of my friends that give a shit about this. Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking about it, right? It's like, yeah, growing up, like, what the hell? This is crazy.
Win for the 99%. Fast fashion was making it so that anyone could wear runway designs while they were still popular. That was a new thing. Of course, encouraging lots of consumers to buy low-cost clothes that would go out of style quickly would shockingly have some downsides too, but we'll come back to that.
I'm gonna have a hot take on fashion. I think that the majority of problems that people have with fashion is that they're trying to look good, but it doesn't matter how well you dress up a pig, it's still gonna be a pig. So you could have a guy wearing the nicest suit, but if he's a scrawny little bitch, he's still gonna look worse than Jack Reacher wearing a plain white t-shirt. That's the fucking truth.
Because we can't give the minds behind Zara and H&M all the credit for the rise of fast fashion. We also have to give some credit to Bill Clinton? No, naturally. Not because of his sick style. In 1990,
that was the last content president. Yep, that was the last one we had.
1994, President Clinton signed NAFTA, the North American Free Trade Agreement, which made it cheaper to make clothes in Mexico. And a few years later, he normalized trade relations with China. Textile factories started moving out of the U.S. because now clothing retailers had access to the largest pool of cheap labor in human history. Luckily, there was a law from the 70s, the multi-fiber arrangement, which limited how much clothing American and European countries could import from other nations. Unfortunately, the World Trade Organization let it expire in 2005, ushering the heyday of fast fashion. Because now, there was nothing stopping companies from producing everything in the countries with the lowest wages.
Right. Here we go. Sweatshops. How did I know this was going to factor in somehow?
Fewest labor laws and the laxest environmental regulations.
I bet.
We've arrived at the fashion landscape that I remember from my teens. In the 2000s, you had 4 distinct buying options ranging in...
Man, I never went to any of these. That's crazy. Yeah, where's Walmart?
Price and quality. High fashion or luxury brands, department stores, mall brands, and fast fashion. But these days, it kind of feels like the bottom of this pyramid has collapsed and everything's a little cheaper and shittier.
Yeah.
J. Crew, Anthropologie, Abercrombie, these didn't used to be considered fast fashion, but now they arguably are. And that's because of two very big things that changed the experience of shopping into the hellscape of today. The first is the 2008 financial crisis. Middle-class consumers no longer had as much money to spend, so they began drifting over to cheaper options.
Oh yeah, people forget about this. Like, yeah, in 2008, 2009, it was really, really bad. Like, it was like COVID levels of like, I would say even probably worse, right? I was like 18 and 19, maybe 20 around then. So yeah, it was worse. It was like it was, 2008 was a bloodbath. Yeah. 2008 was 85 years ago. Something like that. People got crushed. Yeah. A lot of people lost their houses. It was like a rapture. It was like a middle-class rapture. Like half the people were just gone.
All of the other non-fast fashion retailers were struggling.
Yeah.
Forever 21 was opening store after store after store. H&M, the same thing. Zara is spreading into other cities. And so the conversation began, how do we compete here? What if we continue to show the same prices on the price tags that we always have? But we know that we're going to sell most of the units of that style on sale. And we plan for that.
So let's say this dress costs $40 to make.
Yeah.
And it retailed for $100 in 2007.
Okay.
In 2010, during the recession, the retailer would keep the price tag at $100,
put on sale
but
for $80.
Expect that most pieces will only sell once it goes on sale. So they'll only spend, let's say, $15 to make it. So they'll still make a profit. And how do you make?
Oh, okay. Yeah, it makes sense. I wouldn't buy this either because I usually just don't wear stuff like this, you know? Yeah, it's not really my thing.
Well, by making cheaper clothes. You add synthetic materials like polyester instead of selling pure natural fibers like cotton and wool. You skimp on details like pockets, buttons, and zippers, and offer less sizes.
Wow.
I could see all these things play out in the clothing I bought. Like these men's jeans from Abercrombie from the 2000s versus now.
They're longer.
The vintage pair weighs a hefty 761 grams and is 100% cotton.
They feel substantial, long-lasting, really high-quality denim. They have a decent amount of distressing on here that was probably done by hand to sort of break down areas, make them softer. In the fast fashion era, a lot of this is skipped, where it's just like, let's just spray them with acid or do other things that are actually very toxic.
The new pair weighs less at 720 grams and is a cotton elastane blend.
This is that fast fashion trick of, okay, if we add a little bit of stretch, it will fit more people, theoretically.
Remember what I said. That's crazy. That Roundies, bro, we got the Kirby's, the Jigglypuffs. Yep, the Fall Guys. People built like a Fall Guy. That's amazing.
And they'll be less likely to return them. But putting elastane in jeans shortens the lifespan pretty significantly. Those elastane fibers that are woven in here, they're plastic and they break. And the more you wash them, the sooner they break. But you get into the cycle where you have to wash the jeans more often to get them to go back to size because they get stretched out.
What the
other
fuck?
main difference between these jeans? The zippers.
We have a legit, luxurious zipper. Long-lasting, 100% metal. They smoothly go up and down. These are things that you take for granted until you get a bad zipper. The new pair, when you were trying to unzip these, that sound, you can feel like this zipper is going to be a problem soon.
This is a difference of maybe 50 cents.
And you can see why they did this, because am I the only person that's I would just rather buy the one with the shitty zipper? I don't really care about this a whole lot. Yeah, I can definitely see why. Because, people say that they care about the quality, but people don't make decisions based off of that, right? So, they talk about it, but they don't do it.
Pennies game to get the pricing to work with the targets you're given.
Another area that you can really...
You think that you do? Yeah, of course. Wow. Obviously, not enough people do in order for it to be... popular, because if there was, then you wouldn't see this trend happening. Like, it's very obvious that there's a lot of people that don't give a shit. That's why it's popular.
See how quality degraded is with sweaters. We compared an Anthropologie sweater from today to a vintage sweater made in the 90s.
This sweater is Liz Claiborne, which is like Anthropologie before Anthropologie.
The vintage sweater is 100% wool. The one made today is 100% polyester. The vintage sweater has metal buttons. The other one has no buttons at all. The vintage sweater is a size medium. The one made today is one size.
When I see one size in something, I'm like, oh, it's because they couldn't afford to buy it in sizes to meet the margin targets.
Even with all these cost-cutting measures, traditional retailers were struggling. And that's around the time private equity firms started buying them up, saddling them with debt, and letting all the business decisions be made by finance bros whose idea of fashion is that Patagonia vest over a gingham shirt.
Hey, that looks sharp to me.
And on top of all that, there's still that other huge change that I mentioned, the final death knell in quality clothing, the internet. Social media and fast fashion are a match made in heaven. Social media helps shorten our attention spans, which extends to fashion trends too, which cycle through faster and faster. That makes fast fashion indispensable to influencers, who rely on a steady stream of new clothes for their content. This puts pressure on all of us to wear a totally unique, never-before-seen outfit every single day, which is pretty hard.
Lizzie McGuire, you are an outfit repeater!
I guess now it's time to talk about...
Man, that's crazy. Damn, I had no idea about any of this. This is nuts. What the fuck is going on, man? I missed out on all this.
Shein, Zara's more chaotic little sister, the logical conclusion of fast fashion. Shein is a company that focuses on selling as much hyper-trendy, super low-quality clothing they can for mind-blowingly cheap prices. Shein raked in close to $10 billion in 2020.
Jesus Christ.
It's currently the biggest clothing retailer in the world, even beating out Amazon in the US. Shein is not just fast fashion. It's instant fashion.
I've never even heard of this.
Zara can get products from drawing board to store in 15 days. Shein can do it in 3. Zara can release 35,000 new items of clothes per year. Shein will release that many in just a couple weeks. So how do they do it? Rather than functioning as a cohesive clothing manufacturer with its own factories like Zara, Shein is more like Amazon, a huge marketplace selling clothes from thousands of independent Chinese factories. And it treats those factories sort of like Uber treats its drivers. The factories are hooked up to Shein's software that collects real-time feedback about which items are selling well and which aren't. The software then sends alerts to the factory owners' phones to ramp up or slow down production.
This is amazing.
It's Zara's small batch production on steroids. And just like other billionaires, Shein finds creative ways to avoid you.
I don't even know what to say. Like, that's the end of this. I'll have to watch the rest of it another time. Holy fuck, man. I don't even know what to say. I really don't. This is like such a shock to me. Like, Trump chose a VP. I'll look at it in a minute. I don't know, like, I felt some kind of way when they showed that pyramid. And I always thought these were the expensive stores growing up. I did, like, holy shit. Me too? Yeah, like, I had no idea about any of this. Trump will fix that? Yeah, Trump will fix all this stuff, guys.